Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Universitas Academy podcast. I am your host, John Jennings, and with me, as always, my co-host, Mr. Ryan Kraft and Mr. Matt Childress, back from Origins. How we doing, guys?
Doing great, man. And you better start referring to us as Origins team champions, sir. Okay.
I was gonna say, guys, Team UA minus your host took it down, and minus Chris. Chris was not there as well.
Yeah.
Took
Matt
down
Ryan,
two events.
plus one of our other local guys took it down.
Yeah. Shout out to Anthony.
Right.
This equation got really long, really fast. Pluses,
Yeah.
minuses.
Well, Ryan tried to like not so subtle glow, you know. We played in that team event while everybody else was playing top cuts, and we won it.
Yeah, man. That's because we knew we intentionally didn't make tops so we could play teams, bro. Easy.
Exactly.
That was actually the reason that I decided to tank my last couple rounds. Yeah.
Okay.
Understand.
That makes sense.
You figured it out.
So yeah, what was the obviously I didn't go, but how was the experience? How was it like getting back out there at a con, and what was the vibe? What were the vibe checks?
I guess.
I mean, for me personally, a little scary because I'm still like COVID apprehensive. I know you guys have already dabbled with that, but you've tangled the beast already. But good news, dodged it. It seems no symptoms. So
Nice.
that's the thing.
Congrats.
But outside of that, I would say it was an awesome experience. Like Origins as a con was awesome. There was like nobody there outside of the people who were playing in these tournaments. So like something like Gen Con and all, where you're like shoulder to shoulder, like trying to get into a bathroom and all. Man, I walk in that bathroom, I'd be like, which stall do I want to use? I got 12 to pick from. Like, it's just awesome, man. It was great. Like,
Very cool.
So yeah, Card Hall was great. The staff was great. Columbus is a cool city, and played a lot of great games. Got to meet some of our viewers and listeners. So that was really awesome, and got to play some great cards.
Very cool. Ryan,
Yeah.
what about you?
Yeah, so me and Anthony, our local who played teams with us, drove up on Thursday. We drove up on Wednesday. Matt flew up on Friday night. So, we got there early enough to play in some of the provisionals, and so we got there Wednesday night and swung in, got our badges, went to the card hall, and there was like a provisional going on at like 8:30 at night, and we swung in, and it was cool to see people like still playing the game that late at night on a random Wednesday. Because normally you go to cons and there's not shit going on a Wednesday. So, we got to swing in, say what's up to some people. But we retired from the drive, so retired back to the Airbnb pretty quickly. But so Thursday I came and I was like very dead set on playing a deck that had Searing Glacial Storm in it, because I got so tired of just sitting across from water and life decks that just play 800 foundations. So that was my experiment for the week, was to just try and like find an order deck that could get it done playing Searing Glacial. Thursday, Stain. I mean, like he was decent enough. I had fun playing him, but he was not
Never
quite
earned
good
that
enough.
sleeve.
He never earned
that sleeve.
No, like I had some good games. Like I drew with Osei in the first round. I played Jacob Johnson in the second round, and he was playing Monoma, which was hilarious because he just copied my power, gave all his attacks weapon, and then hacked my checks and beat the shit out of me. And I was like, okay, well,
Jacob just told you.
Yeah, I was like, well, that's pretty bad for Stain to play against a life deck that now has all the sweet life attacks be weapons. That's not good. So after the Stain experiment failed for me that day, I ended up dropping after like the third round. I was like, all right, let me try out Sato. Let me try another order deck that can leverage like a really small staging area. Let me still play Searing Glacial, blow up the stage, play some attacks, stun you out, and try and get damage through. Man, Sato I couldn't get any attacks to hit. Like I would reset their board, stun them out, and they're just like block, don't die.
Oh,
Hard check it.
Yeah, and I'm like, all right. I literally dropped after 2 rounds. I played against Corey, who ended up winning the main event on Saturday. He was playing a Toga deck, which is not what he played in the main event. And he beat me, so I dropped after he beat me in that event. And yeah, Sato just didn't get it done, man. I didn't have fun playing Sato. And Saturday, unfortunately, the Airbnb had fucked my back up pretty bad, so I did not get to play the main events. Well, I didn't get to play everyone else's main event. I got to play my main event on Sunday in the team's event. And then, we got to take that down. So, all in all,
we double front beat down the world on Sunday.
So, all in all, it was a fun trip. It was great to meet a bunch of people. Like Matt said, we got to meet some of our viewers, listeners, however they consumed it. Mark from down at the Gulf Coast area down there, he was like super cool dude we got to meet. He was hanging out, talking to us all week.
Nice.
And obviously just getting to catch up with a bunch of people in the community. Like Phil Birch was there, Ben Shoemaker, Jacob Johnson, I met him for the first time, Andrew Holder from Go Beyond Gaming. Got to meet him.
Mm-hmm.
Levi, Alliteration Gaming. I got to meet Aspera
I got to meet
for the
Levi
first
and
time.
Aspera. Yeah, that was really cool.
Levi had this really
Got to
cool
meet-
binder with characters in it. He was getting people to sign. They were their favorite characters. So like anyone he ran into
Oh.
was cool. He's like, sign your favorite character. I'm putting it in this binder. So that was really cool to see.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
Met Lenoco finally, which was really cool.
Yeah. Got
Super
to meet
chill
Lenoco.
dude.
Awesome.
And Shirley, I mean, I met Corey Aguilard for the first time. Obviously, as he was beating me. I got to meet some people I did some trades with since I've gotten home to secure some more of my RLE promos. So,
So
it just blurred it.
Too hot for stream.
It blurred it?
Blurred it right out.
It's still blurred.
It's still blurred. It's too hot.
There it is.
Yes.
There it is.
Oh, there it is.
Those are yeah. So it was an awesome trip, man. It was great to be back out there, and it has me really, really wanting to go to Orlando to do it again. So we'll see what happens.
Okay. So you said you didn't get to play on Saturday in the RLE. What were you going to play? Were you done with Order at that point? Were you like, I'm tired of this?
Yeah.
I'm just going to play like Firebird or something? Or
I was pretty done with it. I mean, I was probably going to play like Tokiyami or just All May. Like All May is probably the deck I had the most reps with, so I probably would have ended up on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I did play in the main event because I didn't get to play any of those provisionals. And I played my Chaos Midnight deck. It actually was doing really well. Like I went 3-0. Then I played against Corey. We went to a game 3.
Okay.
I was at 22. He had a terrible hand. He and I talked a lot about it afterwards. Like it was just littered with actions. He built like 2 on his turn 1 or whatever. Turn 2, he built like 3 more, and he was just basically holding on, right? I'm at 22, and I have an Ice Storm in hand. I had a few things committed, and I was like, okay, I can use Midnight. I can block this Reciprocal Extend if I really need to, but like it's a 6-speed doing like 4. He's going to play something else. I might need to worry about that, right? Didn't think he was going to be able to kill me that turn. I was wrong. So I take the 4, puts me down to 18. He then plays the Reciprocal Acceleration Kick and plus ultras it because he had hit me down to 22, so he had a couple momentum. He does 20 to me. So I'm like, well, I'm very dead. Whereas if I block the first one, maybe I don't die. But it's okay because I told him you better go on and win this thing, and he did.
And spoilers, he did. Yep.
So, but it was really cool. I got to meet Colin, and then Barry and I played, and then Corey and I played, and that literally was 3 rounds consecutively. And I played against 3 members of their play group as they just climbed up tables. So it was really cool. All very chill guys. From there, I got to play a few more really good games. A bunch of my games, like I ended up at 4 and 3. But 2 of my games ended up coming down to game 3. One of them, I check a 5, I win against the Air Giro. That match is actually recorded. It was one of the ones that was going to be on stream, but they couldn't stream in the venue. So if you want to watch that match, you can go check it out. But basically, I know that I have to go for it on the turn. And I'm like, all right, well, I check a 5 here and I tap out and I win because he's completely open. And I check a 3. And then the backswing just kills me, right? That's the game, and that's totally fine. And it was great games all the way through. And then I play against Nathan DeWalt and his awesome, good Momo deck.
Yep.
And we go to a game 3, and I do Ice Storm Breaker Block him as he's trying to go for it because he's like, I want to say he's like sub 10. Like it was not going well for him. Like he just was not getting the draws. It wasn't doing what he needed to do. So he knows he has to go for it. He does. He has to hit like an 8. And I think he hard rips the 5 or the 6 and taps the 2 or 3 needed to like tap out his board to then be able to play the Staff Strike to then play the other 2 to be able to get to lethal and kill me because I was tapped out at that point. So just great games, right? Like he checks a 3, doesn't happen, move on. That's another win. I check a 5, move on. So great games against great people, man. So that's what it's all about. Had awesome, to Ryan's point, like win, lose, draw, had awesome interactions with everyone all day. Had to call over some judges a couple times, just to get some clarity on some things, but they were quick and gave us the rulings, and we were able to move forward with the game. So, which has not been the case for everyone over the online and I guess in-person events. But we can talk about that here in a minute, I guess. But
or in another episode, we'll see.
Sometime.
So on the topic of how the events ran at Origins, so they were down like. They said they had like half the staff there that they had anticipated, just like random things that happened that caused there to not be enough judges there. But I mean, honestly, like shout out to all the people that were there because I thought they ran the events really smoothly. Like I didn't know they were down a bunch of people until Sunday when they were telling us.
Yeah, they were down
I
like
didn't.
3 judges, I think, from what there are 3 support staff to kind of run the event.
Okay.
I think that's what Lenico told me. And and then from there, I think they also were expecting more people at the event. But apparently the mask and vaccination, like proof vaccination requirement, did prevent a fair amount of people, I think, from coming.
Okay.
So like the event had just over 100 and something people because it ended up being a top 8 instead of a top 16, even though it had been advertised as a top 16, which, they gave out top 16 prizing. It's just day 2 was you had to make top 8.
Okay. That's fair.
Mm-hmm. Obviously then Sunday rolled around. We did our teams thing.
Yep.
Okay. What were the decks of Team UA?
So I played Air Bakugo 1.
The big 3.
Yeah. Air Bakugo 1. What were you playing, Matt?
I played Good Midoriya 2,
and
Anthony played Water Shoto 2.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And Ryan and I were both playing double front beatdown decks.
But I gotta ask though, Ryan, how many double fronts do you run in your deck?
I run 4 because
Matt. Yeah, but Matt, so you run 4 as well, right? You're not
3,
afraid
man.
to run.
I'm not a madman. I'm not a madman.
John, we were legally allowed to run 8 copies of the card, so I don't think he has a real reason.
So did Anthony run one in his deck? Is that why you didn't run the 4th one, Matt? Because Anthony was running because he needed it to run it. No.
I can get it done with 3. Ryan needs all 4. I'm just saying.
Sounds like what a scared man would say. What it sounds like.
I mean,
Matt can't handle the 4 DFB. You know what I'm saying?
I was running 4 and then 2 specialized sound waves. I was all in, baby. It's all in.
Ryan is a madman.
Yeah, see, I told you this man's cray.
We just need to check a 1. It don't even matter, bro. We're good.
Mm-hmm. And the double fronts did come for me a couple times. I'm not gonna lie, like the ones came for me in the night a couple times. It was not great, but
they didn't come for me. They came for my opponents. Is what they came for in my matches. But no, so in teams, I did get to meet David Pena. That was another shout out. Everyone should know his name. Ochako 2 player that tops literally every event that ever happens.
It's always on your bracket.
Always, Ochako 2 death, man. That Gale Force punch from that little girl's coming for you.
And then Matt mentioned Nathan DeWalt. I got to meet him too, and Miles. I had not met Miles before, so I think that's everyone that I met. I mean, obviously there's more people, but I can't remember everyone's name. My memory is generally pretty bad.
Awesome, man. Sounds like you guys had a good time. So what were the thoughts, the vibes as far as like decks played? Did you see like a lot of common themes or like strands among decks, or was it just kind of wide open as to what was out there?
Mineta off of water is not a thing, guys. Like even in the event, like the deck's not bad. I'm not gonna act like it's bad. It made some top cups even today, but like it's not this big bad boogeyman that's like just Kirishima levels. Like, oh my god, like people are making it out to be. Okay. It's a deck that you need to be prepared for. You need to know your matchup against it, but it's not what the internet was trying to make you think it is, And I don't personally feel like there was any deck that I sat down across from and I was like, well, shit, what do I do now? Which is great because that means that either one, I'm just running a really good deck, which I think is true, but also it means that the meta is pretty healthy, right? Like there's nothing that's just like this outlier. Like I didn't have to sit across from the bird. I didn't have to sit across from any Asuis. So full disclosure, I think both of those are probably closer to your outlier decks right now if we were going to try to like put labels on something. But at the same time, both those decks can stumble, and neither of those decks won any of those events on Origins, and they didn't win this most recent one as well. So clearly they can burn hot. And if they do, all right, cool. They probably just took an event, but they can also stumble and just get blown up.
Yeah, I think like the biggest breakout that I saw at Origins was Fourth Kind. Like we'd heard people talking about him at Vegas. Apparently Omaha was really high on him at Vegas, but he didn't really do much out there. But like at Origins, man, he was all over the place. People were playing him. Andrew Holder did great with him. I mean, he won a provisional with him over the week and came in second during the RLE. So he was piloting that deck great, just putting work in on people. And like that character seems so like just unassuming. When we did our previews for him, I was like, I know Matt, I think you were just like, this character doesn't seem good. And I was like, I don't know, maybe he can do some cool things, but I didn't see him like coming out and just like dunking on people like he's been doing. So
it's a one trick pony, man.
It's a good trick.
It's just a good fucking trick.
It's okay trick. It's okay trick. You just gotta be prepared for the trick. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
you
that's
know what
true.
the trick is, and then
That's
you're good.
true. And I guess to touch on what Matt was saying, like Asui is still like a very real thing.
Mhm.
Just like she's all over the place. I mean, Jose won early with her, but
Mhm.
she didn't win anything like since then. It still takes a good player to play the deck, but the deck high rolls so hard, and when she does high
Yeah,
roll,
it
you
can.
literally can't do anything about it. Like you can play perfect.
It's a
you're just gonna die.
it's a very forgiving deck. She is a floor raising character, right? Like
Yeah.
you don't have to like you can't autopilot her per se, but if you like mess up, you're like, oh, oops, I forgot to flip this. Well, it doesn't matter. I just do it now or something. Or she
So to
draws
be fair,
cards, she readies foundations. She doesn't
there's
play with
also
progressive.
new tech against her, right?
Mhm.
Like hyper compressed weights or whatever it's called is specifically designed, and it's pretty obvious. It's got infinity on it, so anyone can put it in their board and just bring it in for that matchup. And while it doesn't just stop her, I mean,
Mhm.
Chris won one of his games because he used that against her and made her play with +1 difficulty to all of her stuff for the turn, and that she just tapped out and couldn't pass the last thing. So,
Yeah.
like, it works. You still have to do work to get there, but
Mhm.
I think that's one of those cards that, like, if you're not too excellent in your sideboard, you need to be. Just go ahead and take 2 other cards out. They suck. You don't need to play them. Put 2 of these in there.
Mhm.
And when you sit down across from that Asui and you don't auto lose because of it, you can write me a personal handwritten thank you note. Matt, thank you for making my sideboard better. You were
Matt,
right.
don't give
I
these
was
people
wrong.
your home address. Do not do that.
You can leave a comment. There you go. That's a better option, right? Just leave a comment on this video
Oh my
being like,
god, man!
let's see how many.
You're a teacher. This is who is raising our youth.
God.
Just
Yeah, I mean, I
kids,
didn't
just
give
go
him
on
my
YouTube
address.
and give out your home address to random people. It's fine.
I didn't say I'm going and giving out my address. I'm saying now
You
they can leave
said-
a comment. A personal
Yeah.
letter, John.
You said-
Letters can be digital.
Anyways,
Mm-mm.
so I think that's about it for Origins. We'll wrap up this Origins segment here.
I do have one last thought that I want to point out. You were asking about general deck building stuff.
Okay.
People are playing super greedy decks right now, like
Ooh.
50% plus attacks, and it's working for some people at the moment. But I'm just letting you know that's really hella greedy, and I'll be amazed if those sort of decks keep on doing work. That was something that I thought was really interesting between Tim's list that was less than 50% and one that early out in Vegas, and then also wasn't Andrew's list, like wasn't he talking about how like he just brings in more attacks against like 7-handers or whatever, and he's like, whatever, we'll see what happens. Maybe I just dunk on him like turn 2.
Well, and there was a Marcus who won also with Fire Tokoyami, who his list was more,
and
I think fewer foundations than attacks and actions combined as well.
yeah, well, and there was an Asui that made top 4, I think, at Origins, and then one even yesterday that was top in the provisional that again just has a bajillion attacks in it, like 24 attacks or something, and it's like, all right, well, let's see what happens. So I don't know, like, and it's not that they're fattening up the deck, it's just like I'm running like 51 and 24 of them are foundation or attacks. I'm like, whoa, all right. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess when it works, right? And you need it to work 2 out of 3 times. So it's really interesting though, because that is, I think, exclusively a product of the new mulligan conditions and some of the other things. So you can go fishing and kind of handcraft a little bit better. So your turn 1 and 2s probably don't suck as much as they would if you didn't have those luxuries. So sorry, Ryan.
Yeah.
I just wanted to pitch that in there because that was something I thought was really interesting to observe so far.
No, that's good. Well, that's gonna wrap it up for our Origins recap. We will be back. We got some more. We got some guests coming up. We're gonna talk to some. We're gonna get some guest hosts in here. So you guys stick around. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Universus Academy podcast. I am your host, John Jennings, and with me, as always, my co-host, Mr. Ryan Kraft and Mr. Matt Childress. And today we have a very special guest. We have Mr. Tim Keefe. You might know him as Satonis on the MHA boards. You might also know him as a, I believe, 2-time holding 2 belts at the same time from the old days.
Oh, was I supposed to go grab those? So,
Yes, just do it, please.
let's go get them.
Sorry, our special guest is gone. He'll be right back in a second.
Yeah, because you gotta flex it, man. Like legitimately. So they actually gave out belts. Like, we're not exaggerating. Like, he had 2 belts. Well, 2 belts. But
Right,
yeah,
I
you
don't know how to get both of these on camera, but they're
on,
these
baby.
guys.
smash them directly into it. Yes.
One's the,
amazing.
the 2017 belt, and then
See, y'all thought I was kidding.
they're a little awkward to carry around, but
Mhm.
this is-
Yeah. We're
I gotta
awkward to
bring
try to
those
wear
back
at the same time.
Yeah, that was a day. I did do that like at the next Worlds. I wore both of them.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Oof.
And even better, like I said, like his character art, actually he put the two belts on it, and like it just
Yeah.
he fully leaned into it. And I loved every moment of it. It's yes, it's great.
Nice, very nice.
I feel like was that
yeah,
just the era where everything was wrestling? Like there's like this wrestling meta with content creators and all this shit going on. Is that what this was?
One of the years, Mike Mohawk Mike, who's done some stuff for some Omaha coverage and whatnot now. He held like a wrestling promo competition where like people submitted, just called out a different community member with like a trash talk video.
Right,
That's cool.
all in good spirit.
Keenan just had a caffeine hyped up rant about coffee.
It's coffee samba the video. Yes, I forgot about that. It was so good.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Yeah, man, we've had some fun times. You know, there's a reason this community is the best in the world.
Exactly.
I'm too lame to get into any of that stuff though.
Oh yeah, I didn't make a video either, man. But you know, you've teamed with me. You know how this works.
As we say, I remember Chris vaguely telling me about this once with like doing like the wrestling promos. I'm sure he was involved and very enthusiastic.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But Tim, thanks for joining us. We're going to talk about, I'm sure, a variety of things. But obviously, you won the Vegas event, correct? The RLA.
Yep.
Congrats.
Congrats, obviously, belated. What were your overall like experience, I guess, with the Vegas? Because obviously none of us went out to Vegas.
Well, that was the first set 2 meta, also, right? Like
Yeah.
the first
Well,
one
it
was
was the
set 2.
first set 2 event. Yep.
Well, and it's also the motherland, right? I mean, that's where Jasco's located.
It's their homeland. Yes.
Yeah, we got Garrett to come down for it. I roomed with him, so that was cool. I got to see him again. Haven't spent any time with him since before the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
So it was cool to get to see Garrett again. Cool to get to see a lot of people again that I haven't seen in a while. Just to be there in person and just see everybody.
Right.
There's lots and lots of people there. The event itself is pretty well run. Honestly, I can't think of anything like horribly bad that happened in the event itself. I played a deck that almost every round was done in 30 minutes.
Nice.
So I had a lot of
Living the
time to-
dream.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's-
I had the hotel room that was basically the closest to the event hall. Just about like the closest you could possibly get. So between rounds, I could just like go back to my room.
Oh wow.
Decompress, take a little nap.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So how did you land on Fire Tokiyami for that event?
The weekend or 2 weekends before, we sort of all got together at Jeffrey Kahn's place, and we all brought some decks that we wanted to test, and we just threw a bunch of stuff at each other, me and Jesse and Sean and Jeff and Kevin. And so I brought the Tokiyami mostly just to be a gauntlet deck, just to be like, all right, well, somebody's going to play like whatever the new best Tokiyami looks like. Right. And so I put some thought into, what I thought an evolution of Tokiyami would look like. Like what would be the angriest or like the most difficult one to fight against. So I sort of built the deck just to serve that purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And, after playing a little bit on the weekend and playing some of the other decks and like I had high hopes for the All Might 2 deck, but it kind of just like, it wasn't really sure what it wanted to do in long games because it doesn't have any speed. Its stuff can just get blocked.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a little awkward. It does lots of cool things. There's a lot of cool interactions and stuff, but it doesn't. If the game gets to 5, 6, 7, it's kind of just like, well, can you block a bunch of 4-speed moves? Oh, you can. I see.
Yeah.
Well,
I kill myself now.
yeah.
Mhm.
Well, then I also had like an Ibarra deck that wasn't great, and a couple other things. It had a Void Sero that looked pretty good. That I actually brought to Origins and tried a little. Well, I wanted to play in one of the provisionals the day before, but I got completely waxed by an All Might 3 because my block modifiers are bad and my deck draws cards, and he kind of got to do the thing where you just ignore you just completely ignore Sero and just take all of his attacks to the face and kill him before he kills you.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I was a Void deck with no speed hate on my character, and Void and to some extent Death. And some symbols have this problem where all the block mods on their good cards are 3s.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are other symbols where the block mods on all their good cards are 1s.
Yeah. Sometimes
So
it's a 2, but it's mostly 1s. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so some symbols you just need speed hate on the character just to operate. And I think Void might be one of those. So I kind of dashed the Sero and played Tokiyami at Origins too. But and what was the 5th deck? Oh, I brought a Chaos Ochako, but just sort of talking to Ryan and Kevin who played the deck a bit, they felt like it was just getting waxed by the water monetas too much. Like it couldn't deal with the pool flood.
Okay.
Like the large volume of pool flood. Like one pool flood's fine. You can sort of get through that, but Monetta's like putting a foundation in, then he's flipping sticky balls, putting foundation, then he's blocking with cheerful, and it's just like too much, or he's face shielding something. And so I just didn't even actually test the Chaos Ochako because I was just word of mouth was too negative on it. So
Yeah.
afterwards, I was kind of like, maybe I'll try to fix up this All Might, but when we got to Vegas, like, oh, let's just play this Tokiyami. It looked like the best deck that I had on me that I had any time with. So
yeah, and he's a proven quantity, right? Your list. I know we talked about this before, but I just want to point out you put in a piece of tech for learning the standards, right? Because learning the standards is a hell of a card, and it's great against these aggro decks. And you put in it's the action.
Yeah, I had some go for the wins on the sideboard. Those were main decks when I was originally testing it, but it really wasn't that impressive unless they were activating learning the standards. I've actually taken it out since then just because there aren't that many. It's really just Eraserhead and like maybe Ochako 2 that are running decks on those symbols right now. And I was talking to Jeffrey Kahn a little bit about it, and he was saying like he had tried bringing it in sometimes, but like sometimes you don't actually have less than foundations than them.
Right.
When they blow up, they're learning the standards, or like they can play around that counter or whatever. They know you have it. So I kind of gave up on that, but the idea was to have some preparation for that card.
Yeah, I just thought that was such cool because I was sitting there like I remember when we were talking and you said that and I was like, wait, how is this tech for it? And I was like, oh, it's a form action you can just play to eat it up. And he's like, I keep attacking now, let's go. So
you really still lose the +3 to your check boost, so it's not like the greatest answer in the world, but
sure,
it was an attempt. So instead, I'll just try to get it with Evil Gaze, get it with an Irrefutable, stun it out like any of the other, or just oh, you want to take 8 and remove a foundation? Okay, I'll build. That's fine.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'll play a couple of foundations. Tell you to go. So I think that's the really difficult thing. Like I played Tokiyami in a couple of provisionals online, and I think the first RLE online as well. And learning to survive with that character, like for when you don't draw the gas, I think that's where you really see people start to accelerate and kind of improve their play with the deck because it's real easy to draw orange, play blue, let's kill them.
Yeah.
But like when you don't, and you're like, oh, what do I do now? Like I have, like 3 attacks and I got a bunch of other stuff. How do I not die on their next turn? So I always really enjoy watching that defense.
Yeah. And sort of the extra hard part, and sometimes still struggling with, is whenever I go first with the deck. And like you want to capitalize, right? But the thing is the deck runs latent skill. And so if you're on that turn 2 going first turn, and you decide, well, if I get one more piece or whatever, if I get a Summon Dark Shadow, if I get this or that, I might be able to get it if I check well. If you flip the latent skill, discard 2 foundations, draw 2 cards that one of them's not a foundation or whatever, but you don't actually have it and you want to back off, but you just threw a foundation away.
Right.
So you kind of corner yourself sometimes with that deck, especially going first. And I still need, I thought about playing it in the provisional just to practice that a bit, but I kind of thought I'd be better off just watching the coverage and maybe learn more about the meta that way.
Yeah. What'd you think about the coverage and even further the meta?
Yeah, the coverage was good. The meta has, aside from the delayed reaction, like I thought Origins would have all the Maydex, but I thought they would just show up all in mass in Columbus, and so they showed up in mass in this provisional instead.
Yeah.
19 of them.
Yeah, and then
she was the most played character, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Followed closely by Asui 1. There was 18 Asui 1s and 19 Mays.
Okay.
Talk about another deck where learning the standards is going to be an issue.
Yeah, right. So I've definitely been, you watch the coverage and you bounce between that and like going on UVS Ultra and thinking about different decks and going on to Genshin Impact and catching up on stuff I couldn't do the past 2 weeks. But I'm definitely like looking for a deck I can play learning the standards in and trying to. But all those symbols have that block mod problem, and I don't want to like be cornered into playing Eraserhead, and Eraserhead doesn't really want to be taking things on the chin anyway. So
yeah, so I think Corey, so I actually got to play him in Origins, and like I think he was only 2xing learning the standards in his list, which was really. Yeah, because the thing is, like, I think the logic there is you can't take more than like 2 hits unblocked with him. Like, the coolest play you can do is like reduce the speed down, then you spooky it, so then you take like 3 off of something instead, and then you learning the standards. Like that's pretty sweet, but that's a lot of pieces. And to your point, that's a lot of resources just to force them to not play another attack, right? So
yeah, I was even thinking a little bit on the car drive back here to come on the show. It's like, well, what if I played Death Eraserhead with 4 super regens and 4 excited for bloods and 4 naval laser beams and just be like, all right, this is how we're going to take stuff on the chin and activate our learning the stage.
We're just playing 4
try
glamorous
really hard
too.
not to die.
Yeah, we're just going to keep gaining it all back. I don't know.
Just what's the stupid Aoyama attack that also gains life?
Oh god, that's
the-
a bitch. Yeah.
the
Naval
lobe,
laser
yeah, the
charge or
lobe.
something.
The one that
The-
also has a +3 block modifier. Yeah.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, all those other block modifiers are pretty great. For that one randomly, it's
Yeah,
just
that one
garbage.
just- no, yeah.
The most
It's a
unnecessary.
little
of all
attack.
of
You
them.
can't have a good block.
I think unironically the best death, like the best death character that just heals and doesn't die forever is probably Snipe, because you can like trace chick cape your like super regens, you're excited for bloods, then ready them on your opponent's turn, and just live
Oh, that's
forever.
pretty funny. Yeah.
Yeah, we have
Mhm.
a local who was playing that the other day, and like I literally had to do like 50 damage to the Snipe. It was ridiculous. It was absolutely insane.
God,
Oh.
yes, I want a good 7-hand size death deck to play. So yeah, I may have to look into that. I've thought about that Eraserhead deck myself, where it's just like I'm just
Yeah.
gonna play everything that gains life, everything that can unflip the cards that gain me life, and maybe finally the
Question mark,
Eraserhead will be good
question mark.
enough.
Yeah.
It's just kill somebody somehow. I don't know.
Yeah, I still have to race against fourth kind somehow. I don't know how we're gonna do that, but
Yeah. It's like I just keep thinking like Eraserhead and Long Lasting Explosion should like they should go together somehow, but I can't solve that puzzle.
7 mids for 6 are pretty good.
Yeah. That buff your other attacks in succession. Anyway.
Is it as good as a 6/2 for like 18 that Asui does for free though? That's the question.
Mm.
Probably not. Probably not.
hey, it takes a while
Oh,
to get to 18. Takes a
I was gonna
while.
say only 18, Ryan. That's
Right.
a rookie number,
You have to
right?
cruise all the way into deadlock to do that.
That's true. That's true. So yeah, like,
Actually, that
I guess like one notable I think for today's event is the success of the air decks.
Mhm.
Is something that struck me, and I've been thinking a lot of the decks I want to build are new like DLC promo card builds, and I want to
Yeah.
try Aero Chaco 1 with that stadium to
Mhm.
get
Mhm.
through Faith Shield. So I was a little heartened to see all the air decks having some success. I think Air has a lot going for it. I think its defense is around. It still has release. It has confused. It has wall cling. It doesn't
Specialist
have the breaker.
sound.
Yeah, specialist sound. It doesn't have the breaker block that life has. Right. It doesn't have anything like naval laser beam, but it has specialist of
Yeah.
sound instead.
Mhm.
It doesn't
It-
quite have the card draw, but like its defense is pretty good. It can operate.
It's got requesting assistance, which is also great.
Yeah.
you got small and limbers you can ready up on defense, like all that
Mhm.
cool stuff you can do in air.
I played in the Wednesday weekly this weekend. The first round I played against an Air Giro deck, and it was really good because double jab pummel, or was it? Double,
Yeah, you're right. Double jump home.
Yeah.
Yeah, the card's real good in Giro.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Card's real
high.
good in general, but
Yeah.
she also pumps up the damage and stuff, and so yeah, that was it's that air.
Are you
that-
sure you don't want to block this? This time it's 7 damage.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
there
Tim, to your
was-
point. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Ryan.
I was gonna say there were 3 air decks in the top 16.
Yeah.
Of this provisional today. So yeah,
Well,
man,
was
it's
it-
out
There
of
probably
Dinky-
were only so many air decks registered, right? It wasn't like I'm sure there were way more life decks registered than air decks, and life got what 4 and air got 3.
yeah,
Hmm?
4 life,
Yeah.
3 air, 2 death, 2 water, 2 all, then 1 good, 1 fire, 1 order.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I'm definitely on a like life symbols overrated kick, but
I was going to ask you if you had some thoughts you wanted to impart on us about the
Yeah.
life symbol to the audience as a whole. They're not all privy to our
Oh.
conversations in Discord.
yeah. So part of this is me just like not wanting to play a symbol that can't snipe foundations.
Mhm.
I just it feels like it's so hard to win a long game against like a big stage or whatever if you can't even take out their best piece. And a lot of these life decks will win these long games on backswings or whatever, or just because like somebody has to win the game eventually. So sometimes it's going to be the life deck.
Mhm.
But or if it's Asui, you can actually put 2 speed on a whole bunch of attacks or whatever.
Yeah,
but,
and
like,
eventually get there.
part of it is that, and the other part is like I don't think life's like a lot of these really good players have sort of groupthink convinced themselves that life is this godlike defensive symbol, and I'm not seeing it really. I think life is the best long game defensive symbol.
Mhm.
Like if you get to 15 foundations and you have a couple releases, and releases cost is absolutely not a cost in any way, shape, or form at that point. And the thing that life does better than other symbols in this situation is it draws cards and it has the zone fixing, it has good block modifiers. Life's super long game defense is really, really good. It's probably the best really late game defensive symbol. And just like completely walling somebody out, you're never going to kill me. I'm a 10 hand size right now, because I may, or like I'm Toga with guaranteed excited for blood activations or whatever. And I'm not going to have zone problems, and my block mods are great, and I have releases, and like, you're not going to kill me. Right? Life is very good at once it gets to that point, at shutting someone down. But early on, release is still a really good card. But I mean, we saw on stream, Chris Blomley and some other cases where life decks were just like popping releases and popping release and popping release just to stay alive, and then they couldn't get ahead on the treadmill. We saw some games like that, and after release, it has some nice pieces, but it doesn't have, outside like the Breaker 2, it doesn't have any like string disruption. Right? It doesn't have sticky balls. It doesn't have cheerful uppercut.
Right.
The Breaker it does have is not like a 4x everywhere. Some decks only run 2, some run none. I think Chris has 3, which is a pretty good call, I think. But like, it's like early like turn 2, 3, 4 defense is just like okay. It's not bad, right? They still have the nice block modifiers, but it's not. I don't think it's as good as like water or some other symbols.
Right. Well,
That's sort of surviving those aggro decks.
The thing life has to do is it still has to hard block. Like to your point, like release is the only thing that really is helping out. Like rescue
completed.
Yeah, but rescue complete again, early game not that great.
Yeah, because you're still burning your own resources by tapping.
It's great if you tap one, then you blow that one up with release, right? Like, okay, that's +4 basically to my check to block. I'm going to block this thing. But
encouraging training partner is situationally really, really good, but you have to make the right call on it, right? If you encourage training partner to 7-speed attack, and then Tokiyami is like, oh, okay, but I was going to play this attack that was 8-speed, and here's a Sugar Rush. Block this, like.
Yeah. So the deck I played was I played a life Mina 1 deck just because I like RNG and just seeing what happens. But it is definitely that situation sometimes where you're like, I draw my 7 cards. It's like, oh, I can probably play 6 foundations. None of them really do anything to interact with my opponent, but I can play 6 of them.
Yeah.
And so I found like that situation a lot. Like sometimes it's like, oh, well, I drew like excited for blood, 2 wall clings, whatever, like we're good to go. But a lot of times like, oh, I drew like these 4 bonds of friendship versus Cementos. I don't know what that's doing for me.
Right.
Yeah. And even wall clang, like sometimes it's just a super regen, right? If you're not wall clanging a throw or like an 8 or 9 or 10 damage move, it's just a super regen. You're just gaining 3 or whatever. It's not bad, but it's not like a bomb,
Right. I mean, honestly, I found myself cutting it down to like 2 in most lists, maybe 2 in the board. Just given the card pool now, as opposed to like set 1 where it's like, okay, well, I'm just going to put 4 of these in here because why wouldn't I? Yeah. And I think, like to your point, I think that's the difference between the water wall and say like the life wall, because I think those 2 symbols are both very defensive, and I think air is right there with them. Actually, like I was glad to see, and Ryan and I were talking about this, the Air Kamui make its day. I think Jose was piloting that. Like we were just talking about that earlier in the week, but even further, like when I was trying to figure out going into the first RLE, like what deck to play, I built an Air Kamui that was just here to block Tokiyami. And when I blocked, like I've talked about it before, I think when I blocked like 5 attacks in a turn and gave all this stuff -5 and he still killed me, I was like, well, this isn't good enough. We're not doing this anymore. But, like that being said, it just got better, right? There's better attacks for air. There's more in that kit now. And it didn't surprise me at all. Like he told me, he was like, you see that? I was like, yeah, it doesn't surprise me. Jose's a good player and that's a good deck, like it can go the distance. So,
I like new.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. Like I definitely like whenever Jose's in an event, basically like whatever Jose is playing can make top cuts. Yeah. That's just the deck name is whatever Jose is playing. Like that's what character it is.
Right.
But if you're talking about it a little bit, it's not a bad idea. Like Kamui Woods is another good double jab pummel character. And he's a good meteor shower character. And I think meteor shower is still a good answer to the sort of how are you going to win these long game questions. Because to the point earlier, there are these life decks that want to go into deadlock against you, and you need to have some way in which you can maybe get up and over them.
Yeah, you just got to kind of run them over a little bit.
Yeah.
Make them afraid.
I was just gonna say, I remember when Kamui got spoiled, we were like, oh my god, this character readies himself and either adds progressive damage or progressively reduces damage, and he's a 7 hand size. What? This card's he's nuts. Like he's got to be a great character, right?
He's super fun. Like
Yeah.
legitimately, that's like top 3 most fun decks that I've played probably since the game came out. Even though it would lose, like all the time. Like it's still a fun deck.
Yeah. And to your point, like I ran like the air 1 week at locals. I ran the air Commonly Woods Meteor Shower deck, and it won. It was a lot of fun.
I've won many a game with the Earth Punch Planet Kamui. It's really fun.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
I know Colby Cram was playing that a little bit.
God, it just got better too, right? I mean, you put double back alley haymaker in the Earth Commonly deck than the punch deck. Oh man, oof.
Might be time to revisit that one. Let's go.
Yeah, I think Earth's speed hate is a little iffy.
Yeah,
Mhm.
It is always what scares me off of trying Earth decks. But yeah, if you're not facing a fast deck, or you're facing decks where you're so obvious it's good speed reduction for you,
Mhm.
then it's a little more okay. But if all you have is shock treatment, it's like I don't know.
Yeah, and to that point, like Earth was one of 4 symbols that was not in the top cuts today. There was like Earth, Chaos, Evil, and Void. And I mean, I think all the symbols have their deficiencies that make them not be there. Void.
The only reason Chaos wasn't there is because I didn't get to finish the event. All right, just gonna let you know.
I think Void's probably the most surprising one. Like it comes off of like Void Eraser just winning the last early to just not even. I mean, Eraser wasn't even represented in the tops here.
Yeah, but I mean, but
there's only
Void
7
has
people.
recently won stuff though. So
Yeah.
For
I
sure,
think
for sure.
Void's thing is like
Evil and
aside
Chaos
from
though.
Eraser, it's what character you're gonna play.
Yes.
Right.
Mhm.
And Eraser's a very difficult character to pilot successfully at the highest level.
Yeah, it's
Despite
like
what I thought.
you get hit twice and die. Like it's
Yeah.
over and done for you.
Or go ahead, Tim. Sorry.
I think Chaos is good. I think
Mhm.
I don't think I think Chaos is going to be a slow burn where like as the format goes on, we'll see more Chaos decks.
I don't think
Yeah.
any symbol on indiscriminate shock is bad.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
That card is nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's Chaos Midnight or if it could be Chaos Mina 1 with Award the Victor coming out is something I want to try. I'm
Yeah.
not sure. Chaos just has a lot of nice pieces and but you have to figure out the right mix. Because you have Cheerful Uppercut and Ice Storm. You have 2 very disruptive blocks.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
You're allowed to run Concentrate against some decks. You have Indiscriminate. You have Meteor Shower. You have lots of good attacks. You have some good foundations. You still have Release and Encouraging Training Partner, just like Life does. You have Confused for Throw Hate.
Yep.
It's just more cards than you can actually fit in a deck.
Right. It's very difficult to trim down.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've been piloting my Chaos Midnight, and that deck's been super fun. I plan to keep playing it through the rest of season 2, most likely, because it's done well, and I've enjoyed it. Because to your point, like these life decks, they want to wall up, right? Well, your wall doesn't do anything when it's all tapped down, and that's what Chaos does really well. It taps you down because it just on all its really good cards, it has stun most of the time. There's like 2 in the deck that don't, So
yeah.
I've enjoyed it a lot. It's been a good deck.
I had a question kind of for you guys as a whole. And it's one thing I've been kind of curious about in the more competitive scene. Have you guys seen many people worry about going into deadlock? Or, just they hit that 10? Or like, is it more of like a point where it's like, all right, it's turn 4 or 5. If I'm going to progress the game and have a chance, I just got to like build out and have more resources than you? Or have you seen people just kind of like, I don't care, I'm just going to turbo and get as much stuff out as I can? Because I don't feel like I see a lot of people running like deadlock hate in their main decks, and maybe that's just the factor of the stuff that's like actually really there isn't that much like actually really good deadlock stuff, or it's just not on good cards.
Yeah, I think so. Like, there's definitely the point where like, number one, it depends on what symbol you're playing against. So if you're running against like first villain encounters or grasping tape tosses or whatever, like you don't want to just go to 11. If you're gonna go in, just go in. But that being said, to answer your question, most people I've been playing against, even at Origins, people were just like diving in, bro. Like they didn't give a shit because the deadlock effects aren't good enough to deter you off of it right now. But that's just my experiences playing, and I think that's generally accurate. Like if you're gonna go in though, just go. Like hit 15 foundations. Why not? Nothing's gonna punish you for it.
Yeah, okay. I think first villain encounter is the one that is the most close to like absolutely do not deadlock against this.
Yeah.
Unless you're confident you'll have enough Taiyaki fanatics to counter it.
I was gonna say maybe pull no punches. That's the one that would always scare me.
Yeah, pull no punches. At least like if you have, you can irrefutable answers that.
That's true.
Whereas with what the way First Villain operates, it's pretty much exactly Taiyaki Fanatic, and
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
In a race from Ida one dot or something like that. There's not a lot that's fast enough to stop it.
Mhm.
A Night Watch can do it.
Yeah. I haven't had a ton of people like just like Ryan was saying, just like turbo build out as many as they can. I think people right now are trying to play the game in the opposite manner, which is normally they try to turbo like kill you on turn 2 or turn 3. So there's like, I'll build whatever I see, and then they try to swing in before you really can build up your own defenses. But that being said, I definitely have played plenty of games where they go to like 11, 12, 13, and they're at that state when the game ends. So, and there's some deadlock. Like I played, I think it was against Barry. I got to use double jab pummels deadlock to get my next check +5. So like I did that, and then I went. I had to use something else, so it got like, he breaker 2'd me, and it still netted like +3, and I'm like, okay, whatever, man. Like there are some that I think are significant, but to your point, I don't think any of them are just like fearful enough that people are not going to do it. And it might just be there aren't enough effects. Like I think that's probably the bigger problem. Like if let's say if a third of your deck just randomly, or a fourth of your deck randomly had deadlock effects on them, whether they're all the best effects, or whether they're all just something that's marginally or incrementally better for you, but when you get a lot of them, they're like, oh crap, he's getting like 5 extra effects on every attack. That's a problem, So it could be either way.
Yeah, and even like grasping tape toss, it depends on the nature of your deck. If you don't really have key foundations, or like if your life deck and you're just looking for quantity more so than quality, then it's whatever. But some decks, like your defense is really like, a water deck, like I'm counting on those creepies to do a lot for me or something, and if those get shipped, then it's a problem.
Okay, cool.
So Tim, I know you ran into the Omaha brings fourth kind to Vegas train, and obviously you were at Origins too. Like, what have you thought about that character overall and the splash it's been making recently?
Yeah, I definitely. I don't think the dropkick slicer list did not have a whole lot of success. I beat Miles in round 1, playing the Ida sideboards into fourth kind plan. He got me one of the games. That was the one Swiss round that didn't go 30 minutes or less. That one actually took like 40 or 50 minutes. But yeah, and like Tokiyami's a different question for fourth kind, just because like he can deal 34 on 5 foundations. He can do 54 on 5 foundations. Like it's so you
get in increments of 10. So
yeah, you get to race him in a way that other characters have most characters have a harder time doing. But yeah, I think fourth kind sort of synergizes with the kick package in this like uniquely better way than any character has to date. And so it's really hard, if you start with if you want to say that fourth kind is a problem or whatever, because these like 10 speed for 12 moves that are coming out so easily are like not okay, right? How much of that is fourth kind? How much of that is the fact that these kick decks can just casually land 10 speed moves, right?
Yeah.
It's one of those things where like when you're trying to think, if you think a deck is too good, do you blame the character? Do you blame the support? And you think about like, I can't imagine fourth kind showing up in mass at events on other symbols, or even on other or even on like non-kick lineups, right?
Agreed.
So it's hard to say, because like I don't think anybody's talking about banning fourth kind anyway, but like if you were to ban fourth kind, it would just be like the next time they print an order of void character with damage on it, just do the same thing. Maybe not quite as well, right? But
right. Well, and to your point, like the deck gets distilled down to like, this is the lineup, right? Like these are the 16 or the 20 attacks we're running, right? Then as a competitor, you should know, hey, these are the attacks I need to be concerned about. Like, this is what it wants to do. Like, it's almost scripted, to your point, right? Like, it's like, he always wants to do X, then he wants to do Y, and I just need to be prepared for Y, and I don't lose this game. And I think that's kind of, it's not necessarily a in-game balance, but from a competitive balance, like, you can adjust your play to compensate for how he wants to play the game.
Yeah, easier said than done, though, right? There's only so many. Our speed resets are encouraging training partner and You're So Obvious, both of which could theoretically get jolted, right?
Sure.
But you have those, and you have plus ultra, and other than that, your means of dealing with like 12 speed are few and far between.
Don't forget about
Yeah.
double front beatdown, sir. Okay, the greatest attack in the format.
You have your so obvious also.
So whenever I've watched like a couple of your stream matches with that deck, and I keep waiting for you to use the double front beat down on defense for something, but you always just play it to build.
Oh no, it's getting played.
Yeah, he doesn't know it has that ability.
I did survive a Tokiami killing me one time just by using it on defense. That's the only time I've ever used it. It's usually.
I'll be honest, I've never used that ability either. I'm always like, I can build 2 foundations. Like, slappy hands, let's go.
Very cool. Very cool. Did you guys have any other like overarching thoughts or anything from any of the, like I feel like we've had like a string of like big tournaments recently. Did you guys have any other like big idea takeaways or what? Or any final thoughts or anything?
I think the set 2 meta is looking pretty great. It's a lot of fun.
I think there's some people that really like it and some people that really hate it. There's definitely a little bit of like the ability for the aggressive decks to sort of RNG fiesta you is a little high. It was kind of like that in set 1 too.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's like set 2 failing to help enough or like people gravitating towards these life decks that don't get to play some of the stuff that set 2 gave to defense, you know?
Sure.
So we'll see how that pans out, and if people try to steer their decks more towards early game defense in the future. I'm very interested to see what happens when we add these DLC cards and the provisional cards. I think some of them are very relevant. So
yeah, I think the DLC and the provisional stuff is going to shake stuff up quite a bit. There's some really impactful stuff in there.
When do those go legal? I know the DLC is before
June
Orlando.
24th, I think is what.
Are they both June 24th?
Yeah, and for locals you can play them now or whatever.
Locals is whatever. But the big event's June 24th.
Okay, so Orlando will be the first like big event then that we'll get to see with those cards making an impact. Okay, cool. That's all I was wondering about.
But yeah,
good to know because I'm considering going to that event.
I guess other than that, obviously, huge shout out to Chris for taking home his provisional today with his good All Might list he's been riding so hard for so long. He's been second to win with us, and he finally took it down and saved us from the frog, man. Because like, I don't want to see Asui ever win anything. I hate watching people play there so much. It gets on my nerves, man.
Also, that's also the first time that a non-Kirishima, non-7-hander has won a provisional or higher event. I'm not sure. All Might draws 2 cards, so he's kind of like an 8-hander. But point being,
he's only 6 printed.
Yeah, 6 printed. He's still got to find those attacks, right?
I mean, and come on, guys. It was destined. It's Father's Day. It's the UFS dad. Come on, man.
Right? Yeah. Playing the
foretold.
Speaking of which, happy Father's Day to Matt and John, our fathers on the podcast here. Shout out to you guys.
Thank you. Yeah. Appreciate that.
Guy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, the 6-hand size thing is weird. This is I did some like design stuff for the game way back in the old times. But
Mega Man.
Even just like back then, it's always designing 6-hand size is always weird because when you're designing a 5-hand size, there's like a lot of pressure to make sure that they're not bad. Because if their abilities are not good enough, this character is going to be completely unplayable.
You almost have to overcompensate.
Yeah, and with 7-hand size, you don't have to worry. 7-hand size is kind of always going to be good. And you want to like give them cool abilities because you fund lots of cards, and sometimes they're a little bit better than anticipated or whatever. So like you're always going to have good 7-hand size just because. And 5-hand size, you're always trying to push, and the 6-hand size is just kind of like, yeah, it's a 6-hand size. These abilities are too good to be on a 7,
right? So
they're on a 6. And that's it. It's not. There's not like there's not the energy to like. Okay, we really need to make sure that this is. It's kind of just like the default hand size, and so maybe that's sort of the kind of trap that we got. Even like, but it's not like Jiro's bad. It's not like Ochako's bad. It's not like all.
No,
There's plenty of good 6-hand size. We just haven't seen one get all the way.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, that's more so what I'm thinking too. Like I think there's a lot of really good 6-hand size characters. Like I love Midoriya too. I love Midnight. Like those are my 2 go-to decks right now. But like trying to look at all the data, I'm always like, well, another 7-hander wins it. Like even there was one event where one 7-hander got in the top 8 and they took it home, and I was like, I mean, literally, John and I were talking earlier today, and I'll just full disclosure, he was like, Chris made it into finals. I was like, what's he gonna be playing against? He's like, it's either a Jiro or an Asui. I was like, well, Smart Money says he wants Jiro because Asui is a 7-hander, and I believe in Chris, but that's gonna be a much harder matchup. But hey, he did it anyway, so props to him.
I was gonna say, it all comes down to Chris won, and that's what matters.
That's right.
But
Mhm.
like, I guess just to add one more thing to the six-hander conversation, I think that they just play the game too honest most of the time is the biggest
Mhm.
problem. And like the ones that do have success are like you said, Ochako and Jiro, who get to play dishonest but aren't having to suffer the hand size penalties. But even then, like they're not winning events. I think Uwabami might be good enough to win some events. Maybe. I mean, we'll see. Just because she cheats her hand size and gets to selectively pick stuff up, but probably
Mhm.
not immediately.
Yeah.
Like when the card pool expands, she'll probably be better.
Yeah, I think
Isn't she
Tsushima
on
has
like 3
potential.
damage or something?
Yeah, so she can pick up a three
damage attack.
move. Yeah, every turn.
So Texas
on both
Smash.
sides. She can pick up Texas Smash. She can pick up Full Power Clash. She can pick up
Oh,
random
oh,
stuff.
that's a good one too.
Mhm.
Yeah. But if you want to pick up Texas Smash, now you're an Earth deck. And
Yeah, right.
Right.
Which has its own
Kinda-
issues.
Yeah, it's in Struggle Bus Town. But yeah, I
Right.
mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know, man. Like me and John have talked about it. We just won't play six-handers right now. Like I've tried. I tried so hard. We played with Stain. I played Sato. I mean,
He played a 6-hander in teams and won something, so I don't know what he's talking about.
I do play Airbot.
Yeah,
he
yeah.
cheats. He cheats so hard. He plays one checks to cheat. All right, look, that's all. I'm saying.
yeah.
All right, so maybe that's the answer. You have to play a six-hander with one checks that cheat. That's
There
the
you go.
answer. Okay.
There you go.
If your character's not broken, play the cards that are.
Yes.
Well, Tim, we appreciate you coming on, man. We're gonna have to have you back on more as we move forward. 'Cause I'm sure you're just gonna keep winning events, so we're gonna have to keep talking to you about it.
Right.
So
Yeah, well, I don't even. I just need like one more good regional finish. I don't even need to win another one. I don't think. Just trying to like get this point standing qualification thing.
yeah,
Get to
Yeah.
Worlds, man.
Yeah. Like I might have to play a defensive deck just to like. I think they make top cuts easier.
Mhm.
I think if you have a really good defensive deck that has really good early game defense, especially, you beat the players that are relatively newer, just kind of like Sea Orange players. You beat those decks almost every time if you have a really good defensive deck. Whereas if you're playing, like I've played that Tokuyami in some matches against some people who've been playing for 3 weeks that just slammed down every attack they drew and nearly died a few times. Like and sometimes they get me, and like I've won those matches, but like you can totally lose them with an aggressive enough deck. Even though like I have some defense in there, it's not as foolproof as playing like a really, really sturdy, like an Eraserhead or something.
gotcha.
Absolutely.
Well, we appreciate you guys stopping by and listening to us today. Thanks for listening, you guys. Hope you guys have a great week.
See you guys.
Peace.
Bye.